I guess it was naive of me to think that this show might become less frustrating once Kate was gone. Don't get me wrong, Kate was horrible. She was one of the biggest problems with the show, but not the biggest problem. Because the truth is, as excruciating as she was to watch, Kate was only a symptom. And even if you cut her out of the show like a malignant tumor, the real sickness hasn't gone anywhere. Even now, with Ruby Rose off the show, the fish is still rotting from its head. That head is the writers. That head is Caroline Dries. And I'm honestly amazed that after 24 episodes, these hacks are still finding new ways to baffle me. Not only with their incompetence, but with how unimaginably stubborn and petty they are. Ruby Rose quit. All indications are that she was not fun to work with, they couldn't get a new chick into the batsuit fast enough, and yet, despite their former lead actress leaving, despite Kate being dead, despite having a new lead character to base the show around who, though she certainly has her own issues, is way more likable than Kate ever was, these writers are still trying to make the show all about Kate out of pure, unadulterated spite. I mean it. It really does feel like they're doing all this just to piss off people like me. Well, two can play at that game. Let's do this. So episode 4, oh god, episode 4 of season 2 begins with the False Face Society making lots of the snakebite drug, which Rachel Maddow tells us is the most sought-after drug on the street and is as lethal as it is addictive. Batwoman shakes down some snakebite junkie so he'll give up his dealer. Then we go to her running down the dealer with the Batmobile, and naturally, the streets are completely deserted for this. I guess I can't blame people for not being there. I mean, if I heard there was a new Batwoman episode on, I'd want to be far away too. So Ryan's closing in on this guy when she has something. It's not quite clear what's happening. It's either some kind of PTSD attack or pain from the kryptonite poisoning, which she has still not told anyone about, and holy shit is that going to become downright silly by the end of this episode. But she shakes it off. She takes the dealer down with a grappling cable thing and is trying to get him to give up his boss when an alarm goes off. And stupid me, for a second I thought this was a police siren. I had to remind myself that the police only exist off-screen on this show. So she goes to investigate this, and the alarm was set off by some little kid who was trying to get her attention. Okay, 2 questions. Number 1, why is this little kid wandering the streets alone in the middle of the night in a crime-infested hellhole like Gotham? And number 2, why set off an alarm to get Batwoman's attention when he could have just walked up to her and said, "Hey, Batwoman, over here! Pay attention to me!" Whatever. Things just happen. Nothing ever makes sense, and it's not about to start now. So the reason this kid was trying to get Batwoman's attention is because his brother disappeared a few months ago, and, I'll give you one guess why, nobody cares that he's missing. Do you care, Batwoman? Cut to Jacob holding a press conference saying that he received intelligence, that's not what I'd call it, that Kate is alive. He believes she survived the plane crash, that she might not have even been on the plane, and offers a $1 million reward for any information on who took her. $1 million for information on Kate Kane. Kate's life isn't worth gas money, and this clown is offering $1 million. Exactly the kind of thing you want to hear when we're in a fucking recession, isn't it? And also, she may not have even been on the plane? Jacob, buddy, if she wasn't on the plane, why did the plane take off? We know this was a Wayne Enterprises plane. It must have been private because we haven't heard shit about there being any other passengers. So if Kate wasn't on board, why was the plane even in the air? Writers, I know actual thought is not something that happens very often when you're breaking these episodes, but Jesus Christ, would it really kill you to fire off a neuron or two every once in a while? For God's sake, there are vegetables in my fridge with more brain activity than you twats. So Kate is now publicly declared missing. I already want to strangle someone, and we're not even at the first commercial break yet. Luke thinks they're for sure gonna find Kate now, but Mary thinks that's nonsense because the people this intelligence came from are all lunatics, and it's hard to tell which one of them is being a bigger idiot. Luke is a man, so he's obviously wrong. Mary's a woman, so she obviously has to be right about everything, but unless they convince Ruby Rose to come back, it's not like Kate's just gonna show up. So beats me how the hell they plan to resolve this. Anyway, Luke leaves to go work with someone who wants to find Kate as badly as he does, because after he spent most of Season 1 butting heads with Kate, getting her back is now Luke's whole reason for existing. You figure it out. Then Ryan comes in with something that might actually matter. She wants to find that kid's missing brother, who the police are not bothering to look for because he's black. She gives other reasons too, but let's not kid ourselves about which one we're meant to focus on. So Mary and Ryan literally start doing Luke's job of looking up stuff on the computer, in case you had any illusions about Luke not being completely disposable. Ryan realizes that she once lived in the neighborhood where this kid is from, and this triggers a flashback to a group home where preteen Ryan can't make friends because the other girls are assholes. But there's one girl who's trying to get in through the window, which is frowned upon for some reason, though they don't tell us why. So Ryan lets her in. They get to talking about Ryan's comic collection, because that's a thing Ryan has all of a sudden. And this girl thinks Ghost Kid isn't a real superhero because all he can do is turn invisible. Wow. F*** you, Sue Storm. But Ryan thinks it would be dope if no one could see you. So they start to bond, and they pinky swear that Ryan will keep opening the window for What's-Her-Face, and What's-Her-Face will have her back when she needs it. Spoiler, this girl is Angelique, Ryan's ex that they mentioned in the last episode. Moving on. So Ryan and Mary check the neighborhood out, and Mary is astonished to learn that Ryan lives in her van. Really, Mary? You didn't bat an eye when you found out this van was literally faster than the Batmobile, but this surprises you? Ryan pulls over by a comic shop that's still open. Now they're just f***ing taunting us. And this triggers another flashback to a time when she was here checking out Ghost Kid comics one day, when she was approached by a strange woman who was like, "Hi, little girl. I have candy. Would you like some candy? If not, I also have many comic books over here in my unmarked van." And even though this sweet, unassuming lady is the least suspicious person ever, Ryan declines her offer until the lady is like, "Well, alright, I guess I'll just throw these comics out or donate them or something." So Ryan changes her mind, and the lady grabs her and throws her in the van. Wow, who could have thought the stranger offering free candy and comics to little kids on the street would be untrustworthy? The writers really blew my mind with that one. So all of a sudden, just like that, Ryan is now 100% sure, with zero evidence to support this theory, that the missing boy, Kevin, was grabbed from this exact spot by the crazy candy lady to be brainwashed and sold into a gang for no other reason than because this is a thing that happened to her 15 years ago. And she's right. Remember when Batman stories involved actual detective work? Good times. Then we cut over to Sophie's condo, where she walks into her kitchen to find Alice making herself at home. She pulls her gun, but Alice reminds her about that deal Alice made with Sophia to get Kate back, a deal which now includes Sophie. I couldn't tell you why, since Sophie interacted with Sophia for all of 30 seconds, but this is a thing now. Sophie's not happy about it either, but Alice pokes fun at the likelihood of $1 million reward smoking out a woman with her own island, so Sophie gives in, and Alice tells her to get on the computer and find a guy named Ocean. Shouldn't be too hard. Dude's got 11 friends. One of them has to know where he is. Back at Crow's HQ, Jacob tells some dude to track down the Jack Napier painting Kate was looking at, which was stolen from a crime scene and is rumored to be bouncing around the black market these days. And predictably, not a single thought is given to how Kate found it. Back to Ryan and Mary, where Ryan is explaining how the crazy candy lady must have been abducting children off the street for 15 years right out in the open because she's white and thus is allowed to do whatever evil shit she wants, and the cops will always look the other way, especially when she does that evil shit to black people. Yeah, it's gonna be one of those episodes. And this triggers another flashback where Ryan's being held hostage in Crazy Candy Lady's attic. I guess the basement was being renovated. And Crazy Candy Lady says Ryan can leave when someone comes to claim her. What's more, she has a jar filled with 60 jelly beans. For every day Ryan is here, she'll remove one bean, and by the time there are no beans left, Ryan will realize that Crazy Candy Lady is the only one who cares about her, and no one is ever coming to help her. Well, after reviewing this show for 2 months, that's pretty much exactly how I felt, so yeah, that tracks. Ryan thinks she's nuts, and someone will surely come to save her. But Crazy Candy Lady says, in all the comics you love so much, have you ever read about one of those heroes saving a kid like you? And she was right, Ryan says. Heroes didn't save kids like me, because all superheroes are racist. Caroline Dries. If this is the mindset from which you're crafting this scintillating new incarnation of Batwoman, Kate being gone might not be your biggest problem. Please get professional help. So by the time Kevin gets to the bottom of the candy jar, Crazy Candy Lady will have him believing that he has no other choice. Because that sure is how that works. And this is Crazy Candy Lady's MO, Ryan says. Preying on every foster kid's greatest fear, that we don't matter because we're invisible. So being invisible isn't dope now, Ryan? Make up your damn mind. So Crazy Candy Lady had 60 days to break Ryan, Ryan had 60 days to prove her wrong, and the possibility that this might take more than 60 days was never on the table for some reason. So time passes, no one comes looking for Ryan, the newspaper covers Batman stopping the Joker, but nothing about Ryan, and this is literally the Beth story from season 1, just with Mouse's crazy dad swapped out for a different insane plot device masquerading as a character. Then one day, Crazy Candy Lady ties Ryan up and gags her because there are youth volunteers from the university at the door looking for a missing kid. And Ryan is super excited. She thinks she's finally rescued and tries to get their attention at the window until she realizes that the missing kid they're looking for is white. And then she stops trying to get their attention because, f*** it. When white girls go missing, people get off their asses and do something about it, Ryan says. Yeah. So obviously, if the missing girl was black, there's no way people would ever crane their necks slightly upward to see the bounding gagged child in the attic window directly above them. I mean, I guess that's more plausible than Alice hating Kate because Kate didn't sense her through the basement door telepathically. But still, just bang your head on the window, you dumb bitch! What the hell have you got to lose here? But after hearing this story, Mary now knows how to find Crazy Candy Lady because the missing white girl was Beth. Because, surprise, surprise, this whole time the writers were just waiting on pins and needles for the chance to take this story about the most traumatic thing that ever happened to Ryan and make it a story about Kate. Pinch me. Back at Sophie's condo, Sophie can't find anybody named Ocean on the computer, and Alice doesn't know why she thought Sophie would be any good at this, seeing as how she's so unobservant that she didn't even know when she was swapping spit with her former flame in a black rubber mask. And that's a great point. Sophie is very stupid. Sophie wants Alice to leave, but Alice thinks that Sophie is haunted by Kate's disappearance because there was so much left unsaid between them. We talking about the same Sophie who's been completely unbothered and unaffected by Kate's supposed death for 4 episodes straight now? Okay, just checking. Then Sophie asks if that's why Alice wants to find Kate, and Alice is like, what are you saying? That I miss my sister? That I regret that I spent the last year making her life a living hell, and now that she's gone, I finally realized that I didn't really want to kill her after all? Pfft, bitch, please. Then Luke knocks on the door, and Alice pulls a gun on him. Sophie's gun, which Sophie didn't even realize Alice had taken off her. Because Sophie is just really, really bad at this. Cut to Kate's apartment where Mary's busy pulling out boxes and boxes of stuff because Kate kept every single scrap of info she ever collected about Beth's disappearance. And there's a moment where Ryan winces from her kryptonite bullet wound hurting and again chooses not to say anything about it. Not the last time that happens this week, by the way. Mary says that everyone stopped looking for Beth eventually, but the paragon of amazingness, Kate, never did. And so amazing is this that she reminds Ryan of her ex. And this triggers another flashback, like the show is trying to be fucking lost all of a sudden. God knows why they thought that was a good idea. And now Angelique has arrived in the attic to rescue Ryan. She heard rumors about Crazy Candy Lady, so she allowed herself to get captured so she could break Ryan out with this mighty slingshot that she snuck in with her. Okay. I don't think she'll be killing many demogorgons with that, but it's better than nothing, I guess. Back in the present, Mary thinks they should call Angelique because she might remember where Crazy Candy Lady's house is, and just wait till you see the plot hole that creates later. But Ryan doesn't want to because that's her ex, and things between them took a turn. But Mary's like, hey, missing kid. Pick up the fucking phone. So Ryan sends a text, but Angelique seems to have changed her number. But turns out they don't need Angelique because it's Kate to the rescue instead. Kate, who would have been like 12 years old max at this time, kept detailed records of all the Gotham University Youth Volunteers' efforts to locate Beth so they can easily pinpoint exactly what route these people took and on what precise date they would have been at which house. And they literally find the damn place based on this. Because Kate saving their asses from beyond the fucking grave made more sense than them figuring this out themselves. God help these idiots. And so Ryan goes off to confront Crazy Candy Lady. As herself, of course, because why wear a suit that makes you virtually invincible when confronting the lunatic who traumatized you for life? Back at Sophie's condo, Alice is adding even more layers to Sophia's machinations. Now, not only do Alice and Sophie have to find this mysterious ocean person, but they also have to kill him using a super special knife. I guess the knife is magic or some shit? I don't fucking know. So Jacob calls Sophie, Alice tells her not to take the call, and Sophie hits the red button to end the call, but Jacob keeps talking and they get the call anyway somehow. He's checking out some tip about Kate, whatever. Then Sophie jumps Alice and takes her gun back. And if I'm Sophie, I'm now going to demand more information about this super special magic knife or whatever the hell it is. But the plot didn't say so it never comes up again. Of course. So Ryan arrives at the house. Crazy Candy Lady still lives there, and already I have a lot of questions about this, but I'll hold off on those for just a minute. Ryan says she's here to claim Kevin Johnson, who was last seen with Crazy Candy Lady, which Ryan could not possibly know, but it turns out to be true anyway, so just go with it. But Crazy Candy Lady says that Kevin has found a family that loves him, and then Ryan gets jumped by some thugs and sprayed in the face with knockout gas. Back at the condo, Luke is on the computer now and complaining about how he's supposed to find a guy with no last name on a laptop. Seriously, dude? Felicity Smoke hacked a drone with a fucking tablet. This probably isn't as hard as you think. And then it gets really funny because apparently the Crows can bypass most encryption fields, but Sophia's Island is not showing up on any satellites. So this means that either the Crows have their own satellites, or they are somehow accessing the satellites of others. One is so goddamn absurd I can't even believe these words are coming out of my mouth right now, and the other would be highly illegal. Those are your two options. Which one is it, Caroline? So because Luke's a man, he doesn't see anything noteworthy on the satellite imagery, but Sophie's a woman, so she sees something instantly. And now that Luke's balls have shrunk so much that you couldn't find them with tweezers and a microscope, he's finally allowed to leave the scene, so he goes off to Wayne Enterprises to get something with more firepower, whatever that means, and Sophie goes off to meet Jacob to check up on that lead, leaving Alice to crash on the couch and eat all Sophie's food. I think it's meant to be funny, but who could possibly tell at this point? So Ryan wakes up tied up in the attic, and we get yet another f***ing flashback where her and Angelique stage their big escape. Angelique shoots Crazy Candy Lady with the slingshot, which is every bit as effective as it sounds. Crazy Candy Lady tries to spray the knockout gas in her face, but Ryan jumps in front of it and takes it herself, giving Angelique a chance to throw the jelly bean jar, And either Angelique has a goddamn rocket for an arm, or Crazy Candy Lady is about as tough as frickin' Glass Joe because this knocks her the f*** unconscious. And Ryan's also out cold, but Angelique gets her to come around by telling her to fight! Fight like Ghost Kid would fight! This magically overrides the effects of the knockout gas, and Ryan wakes up. We don't see what happened next, but presumably this is where they escaped. Now pay close attention. Ryan previously said that Crazy Candy Lady knocked her out when she captured her, and that's why Ryan didn't know where the house was. But they just showed us that Ryan was conscious when they escaped. Which means that both Ryan and Angelique not only must have known where the house was, but since Crazy Candy Lady was still living in this house 15 years later, it also means that Ryan and Angelique inexplicably chose not to tell the police about this woman, not to tell anyone what she was doing or where to find her, and just let her continue abducting innocent children for a decade and a half. If you can think of any other explanation for why this freak was never caught, I'd love to hear it. So Ryan tries to free herself by getting the candy jar, which is still there. She makes some noise, which alerts Crazy Candy Lady downstairs. She comes to check this out, and she finds Ryan playing dead. But then she steps on pieces of the candy jar, which Ryan broke, without making a sound somehow, and used to cut her ropes. So Ryan jumps Crazy Candy Lady. I'm the girl you couldn't break, bitch! Now where's Kevin? But she's too late. Kevin ran out of jelly beans. No one ever knew his face, and now it's hidden behind a mask, so no one ever will. No one ever knew his face? What the f*** does that mean? So Jacob meets with the guy who called in the tip about Kate, but it's really just the plot to capture him, and he gets tasered unconscious from behind by Kevin. Nice moves, Kevin. Let's go earn your mask, says anonymous thug number 1. Really, Kevin? You're taken hostage for a few months, and now you're making people think that Kate Kane might still be alive? Turning into a psychopathic killer I can understand, but this? You really are lost, aren't you, you poor bastard? Anyway, Sophie arrives at some seedy apartment. She's on the phone with Luke, and Luke has spoken with Julia, who also knew Sophia, and had heard that Ocean left the island a few years back, so she went searching for him, and had narrowed down his possible whereabouts to this apartment. And she never went there to find Ocean herself, because shut up. Sophie checks the place out. There's a chemistry set or a meth lab in there or something. I guess this is where they were making that snake bite in the opening scene. And suddenly, she's jumped from behind by a mysterious woman. And Sophie asks if she knows her. Because, of course, all women are lesbians, and all lesbians know each other. Duh. So they're fighting, they're going at it pretty hard, and then Alice strolls in, and the fight just stops instantly. Because the woman claims to not know who Ocean is, she's just there to bag the place. And Alice takes her at her word and just lets her leave. Really? Not as infuriating as when Kate would do this, I guess, but you're not gonna pump her for information or make sure she's not lying or anything? Writers, work with me here. I can't play the plot says so card every single time you pull this shit. There's only so many in the fucking deck. Alice is a little bit put out that Sophie didn't trust her enough to tell her where she was really going. I mean, come on, Soph. I want to find Kate just like you. And then, kill her. And then she knocks Sophie out. Back to Jacob, who wakes up tied to a chair, and there's a bunch of thugs in masks there. Apparently, these are all members of the False Face Society. But really, how can you tell? It seems like every criminal in this town wears some kind of generic stupid Halloween mask. What's the difference between these assholes and Alice's gang from season 1? They're all the fucking same. So Kevin is there, they give him a gun, and they want him to kill Jacob as some kind of gang initiation, I guess. But Batwoman saves Jacob, freeing him with a perfectly aimed batarang. So all that target practice Ryan said she needed last time, apparently it happened off-screen in between episodes 3 and 4. Yeah, I'm as shocked as you are. So Ryan and Jacob take these thugs out, and there seems to be a loophole in the rules of the show that allow a man to technically win a fight as long as he's fighting alongside Batwoman. So, congratulations, Jacob. This must have been a new experience for you. Kevin still intends to shoot him, though, but Ryan talks him down by saying that Kevin's not invisible, and that he matters. Then before she fucks out of there, Jacob asks Ryan how she knew Kevin was here. Easy, she says. I looked. Oh, kiss my ass! Look, I hate being that guy. Oh, who am I kidding? I love being that guy. But those youth volunteers who showed up at Crazy Candy Lady's house were looking for a missing child. Beth could have been in that attic with Ryan. Ryan could have been white. None of that would have changed the fact that these people were in fact looking for a missing child. The only thing that would have changed that situation is if the writers had chosen not to slap on their black victimization narrative and let Ryan actually try to get the attention of those people instead of just giving up upon realizing that they were actually looking for a missing child of a different skin color. So blow this infantile, virtue-signaling, race-baiting horse hockey out your asshole and go off. Back at Crow's HQ, Jacob watches the news, which says that the Crazy Candy Lady was captured and Kevin was saved by Batwoman and Jacob, and the newscaster wonders if this means there's a Crow's Batwoman partnership in the works. I'm not sure who would be getting the ass end of that arrangement, but make no mistake, someone's getting screwed over. Sophie comes in, and Jacob begrudgingly admits that Batwoman did save his ass, before noticing that somebody handed Sophie hers and asks what happened. Sophie says Alice happened. She wants to find Kate, and it's imperative that we find her first. Every single one of these people. Cut to Kate's place, where Mary is moving in, and has suggested that Ryan move in too, I guess so they don't have to spend money building a new set. Ryan's examining her kryptonite wound again, but then Mary walks in and Ryan immediately hides it from her. And why? Because this show is really fucking stupid. Why the are you hiding this? Your new roommate is literally a multi-billionaire who runs her own medical clinic, has access to the unlimited resources of Wayne Enterprises, has Deus Ex Machina healing blood, and is one of only 2 people who know you're Batwoman and know where the injury would have come from and how it happened. If there's one person on this fucking planet who could help you with this, it's Mary! And you're hiding it from her? So Mary reiterates that Kate never stopped looking for Beth even when everyone thought she was crazy, and says that she can live in Kate's loft, take over Kate's bar, hold on to Kate's stuff, store all of Kate's urine in mason jars, wear Kate's skin like a suit, and so on, but none of that will give Mary closure if she doesn't actually look for Kate. I don't want to believe Alice, Mary says, but I don't want to believe Kate's dead either. Mary was literally making a Kate shrine to commemorate her death in the last episode, but she doesn't want to believe Kate's dead? Okay, so Ryan says maybe it's time to start thinking a little crazy. Then she gets a text and runs out. Back at the apartment Sophie checked out earlier, Alice is looking around. She picks up a card for a motel that the woman Sophie fought left behind, and then she finds an envelope just sitting right there on the microwave with a note from Ocean written on it. It wasn't hidden or anything. It was just sitting right there in plain sight. It's actually pretty funny how easy this was, and that Sophie never found it herself. Yeah, Sophie was distracted by the fight and getting knocked out afterward, but nothing was stopping her from checking the place out after she came to. But she didn't. Because Sophie just sucks at everything, I guess. There's also a picture of Ocean hanging on the wall. And then there's another flashback of Alice meeting Ocean on Sophia's Island. Where is this going? Oh, who the hell cares? And the episode ends at the gay bar, where Ryan is joined by the woman Sophie fought in the apartment, and turns out this is Angelique, all grown up. Ryan didn't text the wrong number earlier. Angelique was just playing hard to get. Ryan tells her that Batwoman caught Crazy Candy Lady, and she couldn't have told her this via text because Ryan misses the girl who always had her back. Then they pinky swear again, and they call a truce, And I really don't care about this either, but in one scene these two displayed more chemistry than Kate and Sophie ever did. Sure, that's not saying much, but on this show, what the hell is? F this episode. F its race baiting and its virtue signaling. Everything about it was stupid beyond words. Ruby Rose quit the show after less than one season. It's a pretty safe bet that it was not a graceful or amicable exit because she couldn't even be bothered to stick around long enough to finish out the storylines Kate was in the middle of. They already basically stated that she didn't like the long hours, and this made her not pleasant to work with, and now the writers are building the entire show around the possibility that she might come back, effectively kneecapping the new Batwoman just so they don't have to definitively say that they killed off the previous one because God forbid they bury a gay. You have a brand new lead character, a brand new Batwoman that you're trying to establish, and instead of giving her the best chance for success that you can, the primary story arc for the season isn't even about her, it's about Kate, the character you were just forced to get rid of because Ruby Rose gave so few shits about the show that she couldn't even finish one complete season before she peaced out. What the f*** are you even doing here? I have no idea how this show has lasted 24 episodes. I really don't. There's no common sense here. There's no logic. There's no intelligence. God knows there's no reverence for the source material. Just the writers flipping off the audience every single soul-crushing week. But there is a light at the end of the tunnel. Because with the viewership so far down the shithole, this farce cannot possibly last much longer. It can't. No matter how desperately the CW might want those woke points, they can only take it in the wallet for so long. And at the rate they're going, it is inevitable that any week now, hell, any day now, the CW will make the announcement that Batwoman has finally, mercifully, been taken out behind the woodshed and... No.